Hello everyone. So this video is a little bit different and it's basically about Storygraph. If you have not heard about Storygraph, it's basically an alternative for Goodreads. And I have seen in several people's New Year's resolutions that they want to use Storygraph and move to it instead of using Goodreads because of all the issues that Goodreads has. I myself have never use Goodreads because I didn't want to give my data to Amazon that easily. I mean, it's not like they cannot find it, but I thought it was a bit too easy for them to just get it that way. So I have never used it. But I have started using Storygraph about a couple of months ago, and I thought it would be useful for you to see a little bit of how it works and what are all the functionalities are and how I personally use it. Keep in mind as well that I don't know how to compare it to Goodreads because I haven't used Goodreads in that way, but I think it still would be useful to show you a little bit of how Storygraph works, and especially now that they have released their new website. Now it's a fully functional website, it's not on beta anymore. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to do in this video. And yeah, I have introduced all my data manually because, again, as I said, I didn't have Goodreads, but if you do have Goodreads, you can export that data into Storygraph. It seems to be kind of accurate. But I manually have written over the years these notebooks. All the books I've read until I think it goes back to 2001, and I manually introduced all of these things into my Storygraph. And once I did that, I have to say the recommendations are spot on. So if you want great book recommendations and a website that doesn't steal your data when you log your reading, then I would recommend Storygraph. So this is a little bit how the website looks like. The homepage, you have like the button for the homepage, a series of tabs on the top to navigate the website. You have your profile on the top. You also have the search books bar, and then you have several areas of importance. So the first one you have in the top right is the currently reading one. I am currently reading The Famished Road by Ben Okri, and it gives you the percentage. But you can also have more. If you click in the book, it will give you all the information. So the reviews, the summary, when you started reading that book. It will also give you the percentage, and you can log that in pages or in percentage. And then you can just click save to wherever you are, and it will save it. In the currently reading, it has several options, but I am currently reading that, and that's why it's on the list. And then you have, if you own the book or not, you can also browse the different editions that they might have. And then you can choose if it's, you can see if it's fiction or fantasy or whatever. And here it's the label option, and you can add labels to make your books more searchable. I have it basically for the source of the books that I'm going to read, so if it's like library or whatever, and then you just click update. If we go back to the main page, then next to the currently reading, we have the recommendations, which in my opinion is the best thing of Storygraph, and it just gives you a list of recommendations based on what you have read and you have loved, but also you can filter them based on your mood, and you can choose like if you want something challenging or funny or inspiring, whatever you want to choose. You also have the pace, so you can choose slow, medium, or fast depending on what you're in the mood for. If you want fiction or non-fiction, and which kind of genres you're in the mood for. And it has a list of pre-defined genres that you can choose from. You also can choose if you want something small or big, and if it's already in your TBR or it's something that you own, you can also choose to get recommendations for something you already own. And yeah, that's how you search for things. If we go back again to the main page, next to the recommendations, you also have your to read pile, which are books that you have marked as you want to read. And that is just, again, in that tab you can change the status, so you can choose like did not finish, are currently reading, read, to read, or just remove books. So if you mark it as read, you can add a review, and again it's similar to the filters, so you can choose if you found it challenging or emotional or whatever it is, the mood of the book. Also, if you found it slow or medium, and the star rating, and that has decimals, so you can be as specific as you want. I normally do it in quarters, and your review. And also, if it's a fiction book, you will have some prompts also for characters, how you found the characters. And also, you can add content warnings for people that might need it. And yeah, that's basically it. You can fill none of all of these things. And also, you can, if you are in your to read pile, you can search books, specific books, if you want to find one that you're currently reading or whatever. And similarly, you can filter them based on the moods, on the pace, on the type, on the genres, but also on the tags you might have put on them, and also if you own them or not, if they're part of a series, if you are on your reading challenges. We will see more about reading challenges later, but that's also very useful, so that you can see which ones you have left from any reading challenges you might be doing. So yeah, if we go back, the last square here in the main page is on the Storygraph, which are just books that have been recently added to Storygraph, and this is supposed to keep track of the new releases, but right now it's a little bit of everything because the database is being built up, so it's not all new releases, but I think that is the main idea of this area of your homepage. So yeah, this is a little bit of how the main page is, but now we're going to explore the tabs. The first tab is the reading challenges. So you have the normal reading challenge of how many books you want to read this year. I don't have any goal in this sense. I don't like to count the number of books I read, but if you are motivated in that way, you can set a goal for the year. And then I have the Invisible Cities reading challenge, which is something that I'm currently doing. But if I would want to add any other challenge, I will click in the plus, and you can search, for example, the Reading Woman challenge. And if the hosts have added it, or the people from Storygraph, you can find them, and then you can click on it and see the dates of the challenge. You can join it, and then it will track your progress with that. A bit of a description, and then you have all of the prompts. And if you click in the prompts, which is something that I really like, then you come up with a list of recommendations of things that fit that prompt. These have been added by the users, so it's not an exhaustive list, but still it's very useful to have recommendations in this way that you can just add to your to read pile directly from the reading challenge. And once you read that book, it will be marked as read in the challenge, and the challenge will be completed. So yeah, that's also very good. You can also add to that list if you want. And yeah, that is more or less how the reading challenges work. And also, if you click on any book, you can add it to the reading challenges that you're doing by going all the way down, and it says add to your reading challenges. If you click on the reading challenge you want to add it for, you will see the prompts, and you can click the prompt that you want to add it for, so that you can have that prompt count, and also give the recommendation for other readers that might also complete that challenge. And we also have the archive of challenges. So these are the challenges that I did in 2020, and I completed both of them. But yeah, and it's very satisfying. But yeah, that's a little bit how it looks when they are completed. So yeah, that's the reading challenges page, and then the next page is the community page, and here is basically where you see all your friends' feed, basically what they have been reading, what they have been enjoying. I currently don't have any people I follow. If you see in the top, you have people that follow or everyone. If I click on people that I follow, there's nothing because I don't follow anybody yet. But you can also have the general list of things that everyone is reading. And the final thing is your Storygraph, which is my favorite. And basically, you have similar things to what you previously said. So you have your current reading list. You also have your read recently list. And here you see you have view all or see reviews. So for see reviews, you just see the reviews that you have posted recently on the books that you have read. And if you click view all, then it will take you to a list of the books that you have read recently. So self-explanatory. Then you have the 5-star reads, which are like all of the books in your life that you have give 5 stars read and to. And then that is very useful if you want to make recommendations lists. You can just go there and see what are all the books that you have loved in your life and how they fit whichever recommendation you want to give, which is also very, very useful, I think. And then the last one is the books I have tagged that we have previously talked about. So you can view all the books that you have tagged, or you can see the tags you use. So as you see, I have several related to where I get my books from. So I have the ebooks from the library, NetGalley ebooks, the library, and I also have a wish list for the things that I want to buy. And that is sometimes things that I have already read or I haven't. It doesn't matter. You can put tags on anything, not just the books that you are going to read. So yeah, if you click on that, you will see all the books that have that tag, and you can put several tags in one book. So if, for example, you're tagging something for a certain challenge and it's in the library, you could put 2 tags for to it, and then you will have that searchable more easily. So yeah, that's another way that you can search your tags. You can click on the buy this book if you don't own the book, and then you have links to more independent bookshops that you can buy the books from, and Storygraph it's an affiliate link, so they will have a purchase that will also go, part of it will go to them. So if you want to support them, you can do it this way. We will talk a little bit more about the business model of Storygraph later, but I think this is a great idea. And they also have, all of them are independent bookstores, so if you are into that, it's a lot easier to get from there. But yeah, if we go back to our Storygraph, then on the bottom you have the challenges again, if you want to have them there. And then on the right hand side, you have the stats, which are quite accurate, and also you have your preferences, your reading preferences. So your reading preferences is something that you set up when you set up your Storygraph. It asks a series of questions, and you choose the things that you like to read and the things you don't like to read, and based on that, it will give you the amazing recommendations that it gives you. So yeah, I found that very interesting, and I think it worked quite well. It's more accurate and more specific than what I have read from Goodreads. So I think that's a great thing that Storygraph does. And then the other thing that you have here is stats. So here you have the stats for 2021. Now we are in January 2021, so I have not read a lot of things, but you can choose whichever year you want, whichever month, and you can also choose all time if you want to see the stats of what you have read on all time. We will come back to that later. And you can also compare 2 time periods if you want. But Basically, when you have a certain year, you have the number of books you've read on that year and the number of pages, which is great because it's not all about the number of books, it's also about the number of pages, which modes you have been on the most this year. Here I have a few, and then the pace, if you like fast or medium or slow. Let's go to 2020 because these stats don't look very specific if it's not a certain year that I have read more books. So, for example, the pace, I seem to like slower books. I also seem to like bigger books if you go to the page number. I have quite a lot that are more than 300 pages, and then you also have the division of fiction and non-fiction, and then the genres, which is a little bit more complicated because there are a lot of them. So yeah, if you click in any of these things, it will give you the books that are on that series. And then if you have, like here, for example, you have LGBTQIA, feminism or race. I don't like that this is just specific to the book that has those topics, but doesn't have to do with the author. I would like to be able to search the race of the author or the if an author is LGBTQIA or something like that, but that's at the moment not possible. Maybe they will include it later. That's the only thing that I don't like about that. And then the last thing you have is the number of books and pages you have read. You can see patterns throughout your year and see when you read more and when you read less. And finally, you have the star ratings. So it gives you the average rating and it gives you the division. I have an average rating of around 3 stars, which I like because I want an equal distribution all throughout. So I like that. And I have divided in quarters my stars. I find that works well enough for me, and you can click any of these and see the books that you have rated 5 stars that year, for example. For me, these are 2 rereads and 1 new read. So yeah, that's maybe not the common thing, but yeah. And then if you have the all time, then you have all the books that you have read in all time. I have read 1,222 books since 2001, when I started recording this, which is pretty cool, I think, and it gives you the moods of all of the books, but also all the moods on the to read pile. So you can see that they kind of correspond, which makes sense because I know what I like. So I read most of what I like, and I have most of what I like. Also the pace. You can also see some statistics here. So I like to read slow books, but I have more slow books in my TBR than I read apparently, and also the page number. You can see if you are not reading your big books or whatever. Yeah, and again, these things are clickable, so you can see all the books. And then the fiction and non-fiction. So I seem to read more fiction than what I have, which is interesting. And then the genres that I like to read. And you can see the evolution throughout the years until now. So you can see in 2016, 2017, it's when I started watching BookTube, and that's when my reading skyrocketed. But I think it's not gonna be as high next year. And then the average rating of all the books I've ever read. Now, I have not used star rating since the beginning, so I only have 422 reviews, not 1,000, whatever that number was. But yeah, it still works for me. You can still see the star rating of all the books you rated, which is useful. So yeah, that's a little bit about the stats that Storygraph gives. I think it's pretty cool, to be honest. And then the last thing you have is your account. So you can choose to manage your account. So you have things like your email stuff and your profile picture, if you want a newsletter or not, and then you have the profile privacy level, which can be public or not. You have the contact us all times on the corner. If you want to contact them, I have contacted them before, and they have been super nice about whatever I ask them to do. So I would recommend, if you have recommendations or whatever, you can contact them. But yeah, if we go back, the profile privacy level, I have it in public, which means everyone can see it, but you can also put it in private, or which means nobody will see, or community, which means that only your friends will see your profile. Yeah, that's something that can be useful to know. Then you have the Storygraph plus plan, the password, and import the Goodreads library. Again, I didn't do this, but you also have it at the beginning when you sign up. You can import your Goodreads, and you have instructions on how to do it. And yeah, then I have heard it's mostly works. Sometimes a book or two are left in the process, but most of the books are imported. So yeah, you can do that if you want. And then yeah, you have all the delete account buttons here. But I want to go back to the Storygraph Plus because it's something that is interesting, I think. It's basically you pay a yearly fee to use Storygraph Plus, which I think has a couple of more options, and you're basically just supporting an independent social platform for sharing books and promoting books, and get recommendations from them. So yeah, I think this is quite cool. The only reason I have not signed up is because you need to pay with a credit card, which I don't have. I have asked them if they're going to update this to, I don't know, PayPal or something like that, and they said they might. But right now it's not possible, so I have not signed up for it yet. But yeah, I would say it's a good idea because otherwise it has the risk to become like Goodreads, and instead this subscription gives it the independence that they need to be able to sustain this platform without without having to depend on the corporations to do this. So I think that's a great thing, and I would recommend that you consider that option. So yeah, then if you go to website preferences, there's the last thing that I want to show is the time zone, so that it knows when you're reading a book and the languages that you can read in addition to English. I have found the other languages sometimes are a bit glitchy, and I cannot always find the things that I am looking for, but overall it works okay. So if you read more than one language, you can add it here. I don't know how that is in Goodreads, but I do think it's kind of glitchy as well from what I've heard, so it's not like this is a step down. Yeah, that's all I have for this website preferences. And then the last thing that you can do is to search for books. So if you search for a book here, let's say the monkey or something, something random, you get a list of books that have those words in the titles, or the authors have been named. But if you don't find the books, you can always click up here and you can put the title on the author, and it will search it on the internet and import the books in the database. So you can add the books in the database, as I was saying before. It is currently being built by users that import the books if they are not the main most known books. Sometimes you have to import them, but it's not a big deal. You just search the title and the author, and if you don't find it that way either, you can also introduce the ISBN number, and then it will search it through that, which is more likely that it will find the book you're looking for. And if even then you don't find it, you can also add to the database by clicking here. And so yeah, you introduce all the things for the book, and then it will be uploaded, and then you will have it in the database. But yeah, I didn't find that there were many books that I did not find. I think it was one or two Spanish children books or something that were not in the database, so it's not like you're going to have that problem very often. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say about Storygraph. I hope this was helpful and you enjoy what I showed you. And yeah, maybe if you are starting to use it, you can add me as a friend. I will put my Storygraph on the cards and on the description, so you can add me and we can be buddies in Storygraph. So yeah, that was all I wanted to show you about Storygraph. I have to say that they also have still to develop some new things. Yeah, I'm overall very happy using Storygraph. I hope you give it a chance if you haven't yet. And this video was helpful in some way. And until next video, bye!